the occult, and I gotta give it up to you, man, because I remember when I first saw your lecture. The first lecture I saw was back in '97 of you, and I think it was the one you did with the Gathering of the Masters at Valentine's crib, and I was blown away. And as time went on, when you got to dropping on the got into really deep into the dark side, I was like, wow, now this is some new shit. And now, since we had you here in St. Louis, you dropped some new names on us, the new entities that came through, and this is some next level shit here, because how I see it, you know, it ain't the shit that our people just romanticizing with the deities of the old, but we got some new power on the scene that the white boys ain't got a hold to. Now we can really get some kick ass going on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I really want to get well, my man, he said he wanted to call it Tales from the Dark Side. You know what I'm saying?
Ghetto Tales from the Dark Side.
A ghetto Tales from the Dark Side. So yeah. So yeah.
More than fitting to put on the Baphomet.
Yeah, put on the Baphomet.
Necklace.
We gotta have that. We gotta have that.
Yeah.
So how'd you get into that, to the dark side?
Basically, all of this thing it's not wanting to be evil. It's not wanting to be like carve your own niche. Basically, it is wanting to know knowledge bad enough, or receive knowledge bad enough to know the truth, where you are not going to leave any stones unturned.
Okay.
I didn't get into the conscious movement for self-grandizement. I didn't start lecturing because I wanted to be a lecturer. I started lecturing because people chose me to do it.
Okay.
I had, you know, and my sincerity was my credentials. So this means, because I'm not trying to make a name for myself, I could go in and treat the research with a certain eye that won't flinch when I see something that is contrary to what I believe or what I'm trying to put forth as a platform.
Okay.
That was not my job. My job basically was to find the truth, no matter what or how hard it hurt.
Right.
At any cost. By any means necessary.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I got that.
So, in the research, it would lead to several things. You know, and you go in and you unravel layers and layers and layers and layers. And the more and more your knowledge expands, the more and more the concepts of dogma, the concepts of indoctrination, the concepts of fear and ignorance unravels. And then you understand that knowledge is science and spirituality is science. And you should approach knowledge, the attainment of knowledge, and the understanding of spirituality the same way you would approach scientific analysis. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Now, if you got someone in science something made this person gravely ill. And the only way you're going to find out what made this person gravely ill, the last resort was there was a piece of feces, shit, laying there, and you check all of the body, but you know that the last thing or the last place this could be would be in that shit. And you as a scientist know that you got to dissect that shit or that feces or that excrement to get to the bottom of what you're trying to find. You wouldn't hesitate in science to do that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You wouldn't say, oh, this is stink, this is nasty. You understand what I'm saying? This is scientific. It's not moralistic. It's not grotesque. You understand what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with being proper etiquette. You see what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with being popular.
Right.
You see, so science and knowledge and spirituality is the same way. It's all one and the same. And when you separate it, then you put yourself at a deficit. You marginalize yourself. You see, and you no longer can have the opportunity to complete the full course. You see what I'm saying? So you have to obliterate any possibility of something hindering you from getting to the truth. You see what I'm saying? So in the course of the studies, my goal, my ultimate goal, when I started out, now it's changed in the process of how I thought it might go down, but when I started out, my ultimate goal was to get to the bottom of freeing black people.
Okay.
Or even postulate the question, inquire and diligently research and detect and try to retrieve an answer. And if that is the only way you can do it, if that is the only thing that you are interested in, you will stop at nothing. You understand? You will stop at nothing.
Nothing.
You see, a mother's going to make sure her child eats no matter what. So it's a matter of survival. So it has nothing to do with choice. In the aspect, you have no choice. You have to continue if you're honest with yourself. So it's pure of heart. So in the course of that, me knowing that I'm trying to get some type of breakthrough, the first level is to research history. And you have to research and try to find out, is there any way possible that our people can be liberated and liberated freely on the physical,
Right.
social, economical, you see what I'm saying, and geographical level. And you research all of that.
Okay.
In 1990, me and a group of brothers from Clark Atlanta University, some of the brothers was in grad school, most of the brothers was finishing up, or was finishing up school. Some was already out. I was already out. But we used to live in this house near the campus, right up the street from the campus of Clark Atlanta University. And for an entire summer, we sat in that house. And we used to be up late night, early mornings, all day and all night, trying to find out solutions to get our people out of this horrible and wretched condition. You see what I'm saying? And we would ponder every type of solution there could be. And at this particular time, it was all based on, could we free black people physically?
Right.
So everybody had all of their types of stuff that they would do.
Right.
Well, I would get them out of this country. We'd take them to Brazil first before they trained to go to Africa, because Brazil is climate is closely, and the tropical thing is closely related to Africa. So we would go to Brazil first before we go back to Africa. You know, just, it might sound ridiculous, but we didn't. The group of brothers, 5 and 6 and 7 at a time, would try to find any possible scenario.
Okay.
You know, from economics to everything. And the more we pondered, the more difficult it became to find an ultimate solution to the physical.
Okay.
Because the more and more certain things made common sense, we would find other scenarios to say, this would not happen, this would not work in no circumstance. Certain things you have to figure.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? From everything from psychology, you see what I'm saying? Economics, geography, you see what I'm saying? And every move of what the enemy was going to make.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? What the enemy was going to make. And after about 2 or 3 years of studying all about the historical concepts, the political concepts, the revolutionary concepts, you became increasingly frustrated and angry, because remember now, not only are you plunged into this world of trying to find out a difference, your people's behavior is getting worse and worse and worse. Not necessarily just because you are pondering into it, but the more knowledge you have, the more sick you know these people are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You see, you understand what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
So it becomes increasingly frustrated. But the whole time you're searching for breakthroughs.
Okay.
And the first question was asked, well, what are we going to do about black people? Well, the conclusion was made by me and a couple of other people that our answer was going to be a spiritual one more than it's going to be a physical one. We already knew that it was not going to be a religious one.
Right.
Because the Afrocentric and historical movement made sure that we come up out of that by unraveling that bullshit falsehood first. So we knew that the spiritual aspect was going to be rooted in that what we sought to replace religion with, and that was the ancient spiritual systems. The second aspect is we got to find out what is the ancient spiritual system, and if there is an ancient spiritual system, where is it, and does it still exist today?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
I got that.
So in this particular case, that led me to the New Age movement, the metaphysical movement, you see, and the occult realm. When we find this occult realm, we find out, number one, that it not only is it the Egyptian mystery system, the one that we were looking for, of the ancient indigenous African, Atlantean, Lemurian mystery system, that it is completely masked in European propaganda history.
Okay.
Totally whitewashed. All elements of race in African culture, in indigenous culture, completely wiped out. This is why these disciplines, for about 150 years, since white folks had a resurgence in bringing this stuff together for themselves, had went about completely unmasked, completely masked to anybody of indigenous culture, because they had carefully came in, you see, and sifted out indigenous ancient culture that would eventually lead to the most ancient of cultures and the most ancient of people, black people. Then, systematically weave in negative connotations of the Africans and the Africans' magic with terms such as black magic, satanic, demonic. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Code words that since the emergence of world religions about 2,000 years ago brought forth this mind control and this propaganda machine that, number one, anything truly spiritual to begin with is evil. You see what I'm saying? That's the first level. Number two, anything that is spiritual and is more advanced, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Is completely satanic. You see. So, as you first enter into these disciplines, they start off with all of this light magic, these light disciplines. And as they become, when I'm saying light, they would equate light as good. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
With the lesser repertoire of these mysteries. But as you go into more sophisticated and more profound secrets that is beyond moralism. You see what I'm saying? Beyond wickedness. The very things that was beyond moralism, wickedness, would be in fact called wicked, dark, black. And meanwhile, it would also be a code that dark and black would actually be the dark people or the black people's magic.
That's the mystery.
That's the mystery.
That's the mystery.
One, black magic it is only because it's the black man's magic. Of the dark racist magic or science. We want to preface this because when I first started pondering these disciplines, and I even asked one of the white boys, why is all this stuff named magic? He said, you have to, first of all, define what you think magic is.
Right.
What you think magic is, mostly is what you've been taught magic was all your life.
By somebody else.
Well, not only that, your concept of magic is different than what magic would mean in the ancient world. Magic in the modern world is tricks. So you know David Copperfield, right. Doug Hennings. Right. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
David Blaine, Siegfried and Roy, and all kinds of illusionists. And that's not magic of the ancient world. Magic of the ancient world is a spiritual, scientific aspect of manipulating the laws of the universe and the elemental spirits around you. See what I'm saying? It is the highest form of science. From the physical to the metaphysical. You see what I'm saying? Not tricks. So you've been taught, number one, that magic has something to do with tricks, illusions. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And it has nothing to do with science. You see what I'm saying?
Can I ask you a point?
Yeah.
So, at this point, once you discovered that this was the direction that you needed to go, I mean, what then made you say, okay, well, let me go out here and do it? And were you actually doubtful about how this type of thing would be received, because it wasn't, starting to get dark? I don't think you imagined that it would be.
Well, first of all, I never really looked at it as something that I needed to give to the people and was interested in what they was receiving. This is, first of all, imperative for my own personal will to know, my need to know, my desire to know. You see what I'm saying? And I never went about this thing as what type of discipline that I'm going to dabble into that's going to be the correct thing to teach the people. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
It has nothing to do, or it had anything to do with some type of performance, some type of acceptance. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
It was the need to know, and it was going along the path and not hindering myself on the path of enlightenment, and being honest enough to turn over all stones and not be content with the first thing that I felt that was comfortable enough to call it the ultimate knowledge. And one of the motivating factors was, if I woke up the next morning and I was still here and my condition was the same, I would always have work to do until I would receive the proper results or the proper understanding, you see what I'm saying, of what was needed to be done. You get it?
Yeah.
So the criteria was not anything outside of my own personal search. And to the public, I would have to just report my research and my findings. You see what I'm saying?
I see.
One thing about it that I was sure from the beginning, that I didn't come to speak to the complete audience. Only those, you see what I'm saying, who was looking for answers also.
The elite.
Right. A circle within a circle within a circle.
Left of the left.
Yes. You see. So, number one, some of it is just basic warfare. If your enemy tells you not to go into something and to be careful of something
You probably should go into it.
and to stay away from something, not only should you probably go into it, you should run to it. He is your enemy.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. I get you.
Then, now, doing the historical aspect and just being in America from an ancient perspective and a modern perspective, you would have to be an idiot not to know who the damn idiot the enemy was. Make no bones about it. The enemy in the modern world, and every human on this planet should know who the enemy is. And that's white folks. Even if you are white, you should know that you shouldn't be comfortable with your own race. Well, other people do diabolical things too, but no, let's let this be perfectly clear. The people that run this earth are not the Arabs, not the Asians, definitely not the Africans.
Mm-hmm.
It is Europeans. You understand what I'm saying? That is a fact.
Right.
And anybody else that think otherwise is in a grave illusion. You see what I'm saying? You know, it's in an illusion. You know. And the more and more the enemy insists that you turn away from something, the more and more you need to look into that. And then the magic really starts, the mystery really starts. Because not only are you going to find out that this man is the enemy, you're going to find out that he is the little enemy. He is not the ultimate conspirator. He is only a pawn in the game of some forces that's much greater than him. And those forces themselves would be the very same gods that we was taught and would learn to trust in with all our lives.
Well, if you seem to have this split between, people always trying to talk about, you have your white magic, your black magic, that type of thing, and you went toward that a little bit earlier. But what I mean is, so why does it have to be dark? You know what I mean? I mean, in this world, in this time, why, if you're going to be practicing your magic, why does it have to be dark? Or why is there a need for it to be dark? Why do we need to understand that?
What we're dealing with here is people categorizing things. And then the categorization becoming even more distorted. You see what I'm saying? People labeling things. And then that itself, after time goes on, would get to be misunderstood. You see? So, what used to be bleach, water, You see what I'm saying? Fire, air, you see. Paper, steel, polarities, and different degrees of science will later on become psychological things like wicked and that type of evil. Categorize that. So we're talking about something that is highly scientific and really has nothing to do with moralism and anything personal, but just understanding the nature of the way the earth works. Nature itself is a series of changes. Some of these changes very violent. See what I'm saying? And the misunderstanding when you categorize things, and later on people would misunderstand things, is the same scenario I'm getting ready to give you. If someone or some woman giving birth to a child,
Right.
violent birth to a child, muscles is ripping, blood is spewing, she's hollering, pain is all around you. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Which is a necessary and a common function in just nature itself. And someone coming in and taking the experience of childbirth, mythologizing it into something negative and evil. See what I'm saying?
I do.
It's no different than the standard human, which is the stock human, the standard human, the prototype human, which was black people around the earth. Later on, our own physical features would be recategorized as ugly. No difference. We can look at a pattern of our history and see that our own very lives as a people that are the teachers of humanity looked upon as not even being human, looked upon as not even being competent. You see what I'm saying? Looked upon as not even being adequate. Get where I'm coming from here? So it's the same particular concept when it comes to this wide body of knowledge. Someone coming in, you see what I'm saying? And seeing pimples break out of a teenager's face based on hormones that's going through puberty. And they're looking and saying, that is evil and wicked whenever you see those pimples. And that acne on teenagers' face. And we know we have a whole group of people, because we're just talking about basically ignorance. The ancient Egyptians or ancient Canaanites said that evil is ignorant.
Yep.
Ignorance is evil. And we know we have history of Europeans just being ignorant of things and judging people because of it. They hung, maligned, killed, plundered all over the world things that they didn't understand. They labeled as evil, abnormal, unusual, all because of ignorance. You know what I'm saying? All because of ignorance.
Right.
You see. So it's easy if we can see aspect after aspect and example of our regular lives, how things can be misunderstood over a course of time and ignorance. That when it comes to magic or a greater level of science, you see what I'm saying? That not only would be misconstrued based on ignorance, but also a conspiracy to hide the truth and to keep the higher knowledge away from the masses and from certain groups that lost it. And those groups are now, which is us black people, unpopular with the society. You see what I'm saying? That holds those groups captive. And as subjects.
Right.
You get it?
Right.
Got that.
Got that.
So, as a result, the first thing we got to start with was in the aspect of removing the ultimate fear. If we're not dealing with religion anymore, then we must ask this question. Then what the hell is Satan? And why the object or the adversary of religion, since we're not dealing with religion anymore, then what is the origin of this? You see what I'm saying? And one of the first clues was when I heard Dr. Charles Finch say, before I even studied it in General Massey and did my own research, it just a light came on in my head. He said that the Hyksos are a group of Egyptians were Set worshippers.
Yep. Yep.
But I said, wait a minute, hold on. Number one, because the Afrocentric movement was saying that Set was the devil.
Right.
See, here's the first mistake. They're taking modern mindset, terminologies, you see what I'm saying, and methods of research and thought, and trying to understand ancient thought and mindset. And you cannot understand the ancient model with the modern model. You can understand more of the modern model by researching your ancient past, but you can definitely not understand the ancient model from the modern model. So the Afrocentric movement approached this thing the wrong way. They saw Horus and Set, or Osiris and Set, and automatically assumed that Set Typhon was the devil and all that goes with him. You see. So the first thing happened was, because I had been taught a few years that Set Typhon was the devil of Set, and we learned to look at him as the devil, and then the first thing I heard was the Hyksos were Set worshippers, or there were groups of Egyptian Set worshippers. And then the light comes on in the head. Well, why would anybody worship Set? That's the first aspect. Then, if the Egyptians or the Hemmites were supposed to be more advanced than the people we would ever see again on the earth, then why are they stupid enough to worship Set?
Why would they do it? Right.
Or was Set something totally different than what the modern man is thinking it was? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
What the modern man was thinking it was.
Okay.
And the works of Gerald Massey would be the greater explanation of it. Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, the last books, 1907. Natural Genesis, the middle books, 1888. And the first volume, all of them are 2 volume sets, volume 1 and volume 2. And the first 2 volumes, Book of the Beginnings, 1881. Which is the very same scholarship that Charles Finch was getting his information from. You see.
Right.
Which explained not a world of good and evil, but a world of politics. One priesthood usurping the other priesthood In this case, the latter priesthood usurping the earlier priesthood and degrading or systematically leveling their chief God, a chief system of philosophy. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
Then you find out this is political. Then all of a sudden, and this is the origin of what is evil. We don't have anything older than Set as the primordial devil. Then you will understand that this is a 5,000 year or no later than 3,000 year odyssey that was in fact started long before white folks even got on the planet, or either was even able to even talk. You see what I'm saying? That later on would get out of hand and would be the overriding tool or scope of religion, good versus evil. Then we gotta ask the question, then what is this evil?
Right.
If it's not the wicked and the moral aspect, what is the scientific aspect of this evil? It simply is the primordial activity and functions of that which existed before creation. Doesn't make it bad. You see what I'm saying? It is that which is prior to creation. You see?
That you meaning that life.
That life, that system.
Boy, isn't it kind of ironic that life is part of evil? If you turn it around.
That's right. You can go as far as to say that not only is it that before creation, that it was set up a pattern that evil would be that is prior to anything modern. That would be a pattern that would repeat itself throughout history. We can just take Egyptian civilization,
Right.
and just in the dynastic period, we're talking about millions of years after creation in the dynastic period, they make something evil out of that preceded it.
Now why?
Which was the earlier priesthood.
Now why did they do that?
Is an age-old question that haunts man. And the ultimate one is simply ignorance. The misunderstanding of something that might be a little more remote that you can contemplate. And they say over and over again, that which the later generation